Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Annie News, and we are going to be checking out how strong is Belle Cranel. I think this is quite cool because we saw the abilities and stuff explained, but this is going to be like how strong he actually is. And I think it's weird that like that video came out a while ago, we checked it out recently, and then now we're back on. It's weird how things work out in it. It's quite funny.
One of the most fascinating things about DanMachi is the way that leveling and abilities work. While I did make a video covering
There we go.
about
It was a good video. Go check it out.
I didn't get the chance to talk about how exactly Belle as an adventurer has been progressing.
Right.
And that's one of the more interesting
I'm really enjoying the new season as well. I think it's class.
Usually we're only ever told when he goes up a level.
Yeah.
But it's actually after every battle that his base stats are improved. Combine this with his unique Realis freeze ability and you have the perfect combination of things that work towards building the ultimate adventurer. Although some of this may be similar to what I talked about a year ago, it'll serve as a good recap for details you need to know for future lore videos.
Okay.
Particularly the ones where I talk about every member in each familia.
Oh, cool.
So let's start off this series
Sick.
of lore videos by taking a look at exactly how strong Belle has become. Before we can talk about Belle's progression, we first need to review the basics of leveling.
Okay, let's go over this again.
Adventurer City of Arario, the ability to level up, gain experience, and subsequently grow stronger all stem from what's called a Valna.
The Valna, the thing on the back.
Every adventurer who joins a familia receives this,
Mhm.
and what it is
From
is
the head
a
of the house,
blessing that
yeah.
allows them to receive portions of their god's divine power,
Mhm.
essentially imbuing them with small amounts of arcana. Once an adventurer receives a Valna, they basically become level 1 and can start gaining Excelia.
Base.
This is the formal term for
Base
what's
level.
fundamentally Arario's experience system. Pretty much anything an adventurer does will result in the gain of Excelia, and that will in turn upgrade one of 5 fundamental areas otherwise known as basic abilities,
Okay.
each of which are broken
Build
down
those
into
up and
10
then boom.
individual ranks, S being the strongest and I being the weakest. Alongside these letters, there's also a numerical score.
There's
from
numbers,
0
isn't there,
to
as well, yeah.
999.
For each one.
A score of 0 to 99 will place whatever basic ability at the lowest rank of I. Then every 100 after that ranks it one letter higher
So
into
all
reaching
the
the
letters,
max
yeah.
value of
S9999,
S999.
yeah.
But very few adventurers ever get there. That's because they don't need to max their stats in order to level. Usually having them anywhere between 500 and 800 is a good place
They can
to
level.
be. Once they get there,
And then that
all
becomes
they
the
have to
base,
do
isn't
next
it? And then
is
they build up
something
on that.
spectacular. This refers to an accomplishment so amazing for their current level that not only will it overload their Valna with Excelia, but it'll also impress the gods as well.
Yeah, and that's what
That,
we want.
in combination with decent stats, is what's needed to reach the next level. If this doesn't make sense to you right now, it should once I start showing how it's been happening for Belle.
I think it's making sense because we
Anyways,
watched the
once an
other video
adventurer
recently.
goes up, they'll gain a significant boost to all their stats. There's no fixed number that can quantify exactly how much they've improved, but usually it's enough to make them stronger than any person who's a lower level than they are.
Level
So,
5 noob.
regardless of how
Take
high
that.
a level 1 stats may be, a level 2 will always be stronger than them.
Yeah,
At least that's how it's supposed to be anyway.
but
Now, the other key thing about leveling
If
up
you've
is that
completely
it
maxed
also
out before you
resets
level
all
up.
stats back to rank I0. That doesn't mean the level 1 stats are gone though.
they carry
They're
over.
actually
Yeah.
kept as a hidden baseline in addition to whatever boost was received from leveling up. So, when measuring an adventurer's overall power, you need to sum the previous level's stats with their current level
Yep.
in order to get an accurate value. It's a system that can get a little bit complicated if you've never encountered it before. So,
I
let's
like
use
it. I
Belle's
think it's really
leveling
cool.
back as an example to better understand how it actually works, bringing us to the main topic of how strong Belle has become since the series began. Before meeting Eyes, Belle had no skills, no magic, and the lowest ranked stats.
He was nothing.
It was only after being saved by her that everything changed. His next update showed a slight increase in both strength and dexterity, but his agility is what went up the most.
Oh, okay.
Likely because of all the running away.
Yeah, that's
As
amazing.
you'll soon
That
see,
makes sense.
The stat that gets buffed the most is always dependent on the action Belle has taken.
Yeah,
So, if Belle is always running away, then
He's
his agility will
always
be the stat
building
that
up his
shows the
agility,
most
right.
significant improvement. If it's something else like taking damage, then his defense will be the stat that shows the improvement instead.
right, so just
That's
beat
just
him
how
up.
it works. In any case, this encounter with Eyes also triggered the manifestation of Belle's first skill, Realis Freeze. This is the very thing that allows him to improve so quickly. So long as he maintains a desire to become as strong as Eyes, Belle will continue to possess an accelerated rate of growth
It's
directly
gonna keep
proportional
building
to his
up quickly.
feelings. So, What this means is that the more that Belle wants to reach Ice's level, the faster he will grow.
Right. So she needs to stay ahead then.
That
surely.
was only at its beginning. But the effects were already evident after his second update. You see, the first time Belle returned to the dungeon after meeting Ice, almost all his stats went up an entire rank. Then it was after being humiliated at the bar that his desire to reach Ice grew even more. That's why the night he spent fighting monsters in the dungeon increased all his stats an entire rank yet again, more than doubling the total numerical value of his stats from what it was the day before.
He's always getting so
Belle's
beat
next
up.
update came after he had beaten the Silverback. Had his stats been slightly higher, then this could have very well been the feat needed to push him to level 2. But because his stats were so low going into the fight, it wasn't quite enough to get him.
Not enough, right.
Instead, his strength, dexterity, and agility all went up to
I love
ranks.
this. This is cool how we're doing an actual leveling thing on the side.
For context,
Oh, you know I love
this is
power
something
scaling.
that would only take any regular adventurer several months to do. But for Belle, it only took a matter of days. That's just how much faster his rate of growth is. It was a few days after the Silverback incident that Belle would meet Lily and do some more runs in the early floors of the dungeon. One thing to note about his current stats is that this is the range where most adventurers start to consider leveling.
Yeah.
They usually get to the D or B rank and everything, then immediately
And then they
try
level
to
up.
complete the level up process with some sort of spectacular feat. This is because a lot of adventurers don't want to waste their time gaining Excelia that counts for less. You see, the grind to bring their stats to the rank of A or S.
You see, I
is
like
long
grinding though.
It requires
I play
exponentially
Destiny.
more Excelia for every subsequent letter. Not to mention that in order to keep gaining Excelia, you also need to be fighting progressively stronger opponents as well.
Yep.
So most adventurers would rather level up as soon as possible and get that quick boost in stats, than risk fighting stronger enemies at a lower level for a marginal return. To them, boosting lower level stats isn't worth putting off boosting higher level stats.
But in the long run.
Even though in the long run it would be more beneficial
There we go.
to their overall power.
Yeah.
The time commitment it takes to do that is simply just too much. I mean, it could take months or even years to get from A to S. So why bother waiting when you can just get an immediate power boost while still being at the D rank? That's the mindset that pretty much...
It makes sense. I get that. I get that.
Although for Belle it
But
may
from a
seem
video
like
game
it's
perspective.
waiting, he doesn't necessarily see the benefits of waiting to level up either. His stats kind of automatically max out as a byproduct of his Realis freezability. It's something that will become very evident.
His
once
magic
you see
is
his
solid
stats
zero
from
still, man.
Minotaur. But before that, Belle
Firebolt.
had gone back to the dungeon numerous times with Lily. He also obtained the Swift Strike magic Firebolt. Up
There we
until
go.
now, Belle's
I'm
magic
on
stat
to
remained
all
at
this.
high zero simply because he couldn't use any magic. It was only after gaining Firebolt and training directly with Eyes that Belle's update showed
There
the
we
most
go.
significant improvement that we've seen so far.
God, look at those strength, endurance,
Belle had
dexterity,
raised
man.
all his
Look at his
stats
agility.
except for magic from the rank of I to S.
Double S.
His agility even went beyond the max rank of S to double S.
Damn.
A phenomenon that could only be explained through his unique skill. I mean,
Crazy.
until now, no one even considered it a possibility to go above the S rank.
Go above.
So Hestia could only assume that Belle's accelerated rate of growth was what allowed him to completely bypass that supposed limit of S999. It's a concept that if made known to the public would shake the very foundations of Terraria.
My God, it would
Which
change
is why
everything.
Hestia chooses to keep it a secret.
Yeah, makes
even
sense.
from Belle himself. What this means, though, is that Belle's overloaded double S and triple S stats could sometimes reach a total sum that is greater than that of adventurers who are a
Higher level, yeah.
giving him powers similar to that of a level above.
Which is sick.
This was definitely the leading factor in what allowed him to beat the Minotaur. Because Belle's stats were all S or above, this made him capable of facing off against an enemy that no level 1 should have any right
But
to
he
beat.
can because he's that
That's
strong,
why
man.
everyone was so shocked to see Belle pull it off.
Sick.
He
So cool.
surpassed the limitations that came with being a level 1. It was after this feat that all his stats became double S or triple S.
Jeez.
And because beating the Minotaur served as his spectacular accomplishment, Belle also became the fastest adventurer on record to reach level 2, slaying a grand total of 3,001 monsters along the way.
Whoa.
It was on his next update that all his stats reset back to I0. But his total overall power for level 1 still remained at 5,546. That's the hidden baseline that gets
That's
added
the
to all
base.
his level
Yeah.
2 stats.
That's cool.
The only thing that's different is that his level 2 stats are now tracked separately. Alongside this level up, Belle also gained the second skill, Argonaut. This was a skill that manifested out of his desire to become a hero. But in order to use it to its full potential, he first needs to spend 3 minutes to charge it.
Yeah, which is
only then can he release
long
the
time.
skill as the massive burst of energy it's intended to be. So basically, the longer he charges it, the more
powerful
it
it'll be.
does.
Yeah.
And it can be used to strengthen any one of his abilities, skills, or attacks.
Jeez.
Bell's next update came when he was trying to prove to Aina that he was capable of traversing the middle floors of the dungeon. You see, Aina didn't believe that Bell was ready to go there yet. I mean, it had only been 11 days since he had fought the Minotaur. At most, his stats could only be marginally higher than rank I0. At least, that's what Aina was thinking. But when Bell showed her his stats, almost every single one of them had gone up 2 to 3 ranks.
Oh.
It was progression far faster than any adventurer Aina had ever seen before. He had also developed the new ability known as Luck, an attribute similar to
A
Divine
new
Protection
ability that no one's ever heard of called
in
Luck.
the dungeon, basically making it so that monsters drop items more frequently.
Yeah, that's cool.
In any case, this was the last update prior to Bell's death march down to the 18th floor. It was only after Hestia arrived with everyone else that we see his perilous descent improved all stats by about 100. Keep in mind that this was only 3 days after seeing Aina.
Damn.
And 2 days after that was when he faced the Goliath.
Oh, mate.
A feat that practically doubled his total power yet again.
Yeah.
Increasing
You'd think.
all his stats by almost 300 each. Now, it's after Season 1 that the rate with which we get updates of Bell's progress slows down a bit. But the next one does give us a good example of how exactly Excelia works. And it comes from the update that happened after his fight with Hyacinthus.
Oh,
For
mate.
reference, this was only 2 days after he had fought the Goliath. So, all his stats were still the same number from when he beat it.
Right, okay.
That said,
Nothing's changed.
one punch from Hyacinthus gave Bell enough Excelia to boost his defense 4 points higher.
Whoa.
So, that's what I mean when I say that everything and anything can be done
Yeah.
to gain Excelia.
That's amazing.
No matter how small the action, so
It's
long
still
as it
gonna,
relates
like,
to one
add
of the
to it.
5 basic abilities, it'll work towards improving it. Such is the nature of Excelia. Now, as we know, Bell spent quite a bit of time training with Eyes in order to get ready for the war game.
Yeah.
Had he not, then his current level 2 stats wouldn't have been enough to beat a level 3. But since training with Eyes once again boosted all his stats to the double S addition of his
Nice.
ranks,
Triple
left him more
S.
than
The
capable of
agility,
beating
man, is
Eyes
constantly
in
like,
his own.
whoa.
It pretty much meant that the sum of all his stats were now higher than the sum of Hyacinthus's.
Whoa.
Which honestly is to be expected if you assume Hyacinthus leveled when most of his stats were at the D to B rank.
Right, okay, yeah.
That would make his average total sum per level be around 3,000. If you multiply that by 2, then add the sum of his current level 3 stats, you'll still get a number that's lower than Bell's current total of
Jeez,
almost
take that,
11,000.
level 2, whoa.
So that's where those hidden parameters from the
I love it,
previous
it's
levels come into
brilliant.
play. Of course, this is a very simplistic way of looking at it. There are other factors that need to be considered as well. The base stats are just the most important ones. Anyway, beating Hyacinthus served as the spectacular feat Bell needed to reach level 3, thus resetting all his stats back
to I0,
one more
right.
time. But as it was with level 1, his level 2 baseline remains at a solid 5,396. Combine that with his level 1
Level
of
1 base.
5,546, and you'll get that total power sum of almost 11,000. Now, it was 9 days after leveling up that the whole Ishtar Familia incident happened. By then, most of his stats had only gone up around 1 to 2 ranks.
Right.
But it was the event of having another goddess see his Falna that gave us more information on Bell's overall power. Initially, Ishtar was mostly surprised by the presence of his luck ability. I mean, this was one of the more rare ones to come across. But that wouldn't explain why he was immune to her charm. As far as she knew, every existence in the world, regardless of whether they're human, monster, or god, shouldn't have the power to escape the charm of a goddess of beauty. That's when Ishtar saw his other skill, an undocumented attribute that affected his rate of growth. If the description for this skill was to be believed, then that would mean Bell possessed a will so strong that it made him capable of manifesting his own skills into existence.
Oh, whoa, okay.
It was a sense of determination strong enough to forcibly accelerate his growth simply out of sheer desire.
Jeez.
A pure one-track mind that only came around once a millennium. One of the side effects
The
that
chosen
included
one.
just so happened to be an immunity to the charm of a goddess, rendering both Ishtar and Freya's abilities useless against
And that's
him.
why they want him.
That's just how pure Bell's will was. In any case, Bell didn't really do much training or monster hunting during the invasion arc. His stats only got updated once during the entire 2 weeks that it was happening.
Damn.
And that was
Slow
part
progression,
of the
man.
update session with everyone else in the Familia. Although his improvement was fairly negligible, the important thing to note here was what Hestia did. You see, everyone wanted to know why Bell's rate of growth was much faster than their own. I mean, they were all fighting the same monsters.
Same thing, yeah. Like,
so
I was there as well.
It makes sense that Bell was improving anywhere between 50 to 100 points when everyone else was only going up by 10. That's when Hestia decided it was best to finally tell everyone else about his special skill. So, going into Season 3, everyone except for Bell now knows why he's able to level up so quickly.
Which is amazing. It's like, he doesn't have a clue, and they're like, oh, he has no idea.
The Xenos in the dungeon, his stats are this. Pretty much midway through level 3 in
Right,
almost everything.
jeez.
He also developed the new ability called Immunity. Although it doesn't quite make him immune to everything, it does act as a strong resistance against things like poisons.
That's cool.
That was exactly how Bell has progressed.
That was brilliant. Oh my god, that was class.
In the 4 months since he'd been saved by Eyes, he's gone up over 2.5 levels, which is the fastest rate of growth for any adventurer in Auraria.
Sick.
What makes him even stronger is the fact that his Hestia knife scales in power just like he does. The more he grows, the stronger this knife will become.
Oh, whoa.
That's the key trait of this living weapon. So it almost seems like everything is working in Bell's favor to make him become the ultimate adventurer. I mean, everything from his skills to his
He is the main character, after all.
He needs to follow in order to become the hero he wants to be. But remember, that growth only exists so long as his desire to reach Eyes does as well.
Yeah.
If that feeling was to ever dwindle, then so too would Bell's rate of growth.
Right.
It makes you wonder what would happen if Bell and Eyes were to ever end up on opposing sides.
Oh my god.
Though, if Bell was to continue overloading his stats to double S and triple S, then a level 5 Bell could very well be capable of taking on a level 6 Eyes.
Yeah.
This is because Eyes didn't max out her stats like Bell did.
Oh.
Her strength and endurance are actually subpar in comparison to her agility and dexterity. So it's not
So if Bell keeps like maxing out before leveling up, he's gonna be well strong.
He just needs to continue growing at the rate that he currently is right now. If he does, then Bell will always become the strongest adventurer for the level he's at. I mean, even Otter isn't capable of going beyond S999. So, just by the numbers alone, Bell has the potential to become the strongest adventurer in all of Auraria. And that's the answer to the question of how strong he is. Of course, that's assuming conditions remain the same. But if you're watching Season 3, I'm sure you've noticed that things look like they're about to change. So we'll see soon enough if this becomes something that ends up affecting Bell. Anyway, hopefully this served as a good recap for how the leveling system
Yeah, that was
works.
boss. That was so good.
It's stuff that you'll need to know for when I do the next lore video. In the meantime, though, feel free to check out the Cut Content series to see what the anime has been leaving out from the novels.
Mate, that was so good at explaining the levels. Like, they just had the numbers there. He's just, like, showing it as it's going through. And going over very loosely, like, the leveling. The leveling in DanMachi is awesome. That was boss. Wow. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. Next time.